A man is gunned down on the front porch of his parents' home.
They asked his parents if he has any enemies, anyone who would want him dead.
The whole community must have been rocked when those shots were fired.
We didn't have any information to saying that he was the intended target.
This could have been an armed robbery gone wrong.
As the case threatens to go cold, investigators uncover a sordid tale of sex, exploitation, and murder.
She was an older lady. It was a young kid. He was influenced probably by sex, probably by the thought of getting a bunch of money.
The allegation is so explosive.
You've expected him to die.
This was one of the most unbelievable crimes this small town had ever seen.
March 25th, 2013, 10 p.m. It's an unusually chilly spring night in Abbeville, South Carolina, and Dale Phillips Sr. and his wife Martha are watching TV when they hear a commotion coming from the front porch.
Who's that?
Must be Dale Jr.
Assuming it's their live-in son, Dale Jr., returning home from work, Martha goes to meet him.
They hear somebody come up on the porch, take their key out. It was jingling, and the key didn't automatically go in the door.
What in the world?
Oh my God, Dale!
What they find there on the front porch is absolutely a nightmare.
Call 911.
They think it's Dale laying on the front porch, face down, gasping for air.
Emergency. Somebody shot my son on the porch. Ma'am, just calm down.
I will never forget the desperation in Miss Martha's voice as she's on the phone with law enforcement.
Oh, God. Ma'am, stay with me, okay? Listen.
With EMTs on the way, Dale and Martha can't help but wonder who shot their son and why. Dale Cleveland Phillips Jr. was the oldest son born to Dale and Martha Phillips.
Just wonderful people. Dale Phillips Sr. has been very active in his community and served his country, served his community, served his family. Miss Martha worked in the textile industry here in Greenwood. Just don't know of a better family here in this area.
The firstborn by 5 years, Dale Jr. idolized his dad growing up.
Dale Jr. followed in his father's footsteps. He was committed to his education, and he did exceptionally well in school. Sometimes when you're 5 years older than your younger siblings, you're not very close to them. But that was definitely not the case with Dale Jr. He was very close to his siblings, especially Jamil.
All the brothers were close. They all had a really close-knit relationship.
They'd play basketball and play games in the house. They liked to play with the children in the neighborhood.
During college, Dale Jr. earned extra cash by working at a home improvement store. It was there that he met a charming single mother named Carlita Deshawn.
Carlita was actually 3 years older than Dale Jr. She was recently divorced and living alone with 2 children.
Dale instantly fell for her, and it probably was because she was that sort of damsel in distress. Dale Jr. loved the idea of being able to help raise Carlita's children.
Around the time Dale and Carlita started dating, his career began to take off. He landed a well-paying job with a local power company. Not long after that, Dale and Carlita moved in with each other.
Dale and Carlita were the picture-perfect couple. They loved each other. And after a couple of years, he popped the question.
They get married in 2003, a nice little ceremony in a family church. They bought a house. Life was looking good for them.
Hey, baby.
But as Carlita's children became teenagers, the family dynamic began to shift.
He felt like he couldn't discipline the children any, that the children kind of ran amok.
Don't you see your mother washing dishes? Do you hear me? Can you please?
They didn't want to hear anything he had to say, and most of the time they ignored him. That was difficult for Dale, particularly because he was the primary breadwinner.
Your daughter never listens to me.
Maybe it's the way you're talking to her. Maybe you learn how to talk to her.
Ultimately, the stress of being a stepdad proved to be too much. Dale and Carlita's relationship fell apart. They separated in May of 2012 after 9 years of marriage, and Dale moved back home to his parents' house.
Dale wasn't the only one who moved back home. In December, his younger brother Jamil also returned from Charlotte to Abbeville.
What you doing here?
With the 2 brothers breaking up their parents' empty nest, Dale Jr. and Jamil provided each other the moral support they both needed to get back on their feet.
You know, Mom's let me crash. Pops ain't real happy with it, but
Yeah, you know how Pop said.
After moving back in with his parents, Dale was quickly picking up the pieces. He was casually venturing back into the dating world, and his life was back on an upswing.
Which is why the shooting on his parents' front porch comes as such a shock. But as Dale Sr. rolls his son over in an attempt to resuscitate him, he realizes the young man on the front porch isn't Dale Jr.
Oh my God. Martha! It's Jamil.
This was shocking and tragic. To go from thinking that one son had been shot to learning that it's another son, this has to be a parent's worst nightmare.
Jamil was a good guy. Why would someone just randomly gun him down on their front porch? And I think that they were not only in shock of this, they were trying to figure out why.
Moments later, police and EMTs arrive on the scene, but little do they know, the shooting of Jamil Phillips is no random act of violence, but rather the fatal chapter in a twisted tale of taboo relationships, hidden secrets, and forbidden love. And once the sordid details of this story come to light, it will threaten to rip a loving family and a peaceful community apart at the seams.
The story behind this crime is simply unimaginable.
I need the truth right now.
Shortly after 10 p.m. on the night of March 25th, 2013, police and EMTs are en route to the Abbeville, South Carolina home of Dale and Martha Phillips. On the front porch, the two stunned parents do their best to comfort their son Jamil, who is clinging to life after having been shot.
This is a house that's probably 3 to 4 miles outside of the town of Abbeville, so they're able to respond within several minutes.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Excuse me. I need you to move out of the way, please.
Jamil is just lying there on the porch, bleeding out. He's gurgling, blood pouring from his chest, and there's nothing really anyone can do to stop what's happening. By the time EMS got there, within 5 minutes, Jamil had bled out.
We already lost him.
Oh, God. No!
Just moments after EMTs inform Jamil's parents of his passing, their oldest son, Dale Jr., arrives home.
Dale Jr. is stunned and devastated by Jamil's death. This is his brother, his best friend, and probably the person he's closest to than anyone in the world.
What happened? I don't know.
Came outside, he was gone.
We thought it was you.
EMTs transport Jamil's body to the coroner for examination. Moments later, investigators with the Abbeville County Sheriff's Office arrive. Their first order of business is to secure the crime scene and ask Dale and Martha to walk them through what happened that evening.
We were just waiting for Jamil and Dale Jr. to come home.
Where was he coming from?
He works in Greensville. Gets off at 9 o'clock. It's about an hour drive home.
Dale Phillips Jr. was supposed to be home, I think, before Jamil that night went out to run an errand in town before coming back home.
When you went outside, did you see or hear anything unusual?
I saw somebody running down by the tree line.
Can you give me a description?
I didn't get a good look at him. I saw some tail lights pulling off.
Investigators survey the scene, looking for any clues that might explain why the shooting took place.
The first thing that comes to mind is a possible robbery, but Jamil still has his wallet. So they ask his parents if Jamil has any enemies, anyone who would want him dead, but his parents can't think of anyone.
Though the Phillips family lives in a rural area with few neighbors, investigators must still canvass the vicinity for potential eyewitnesses.
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Certainly, officer. They asked us, did we see anything and did we hear anything? And of course, we told them that we heard the gunshots, like 3 or 4 gunshots.
When you looked out your window, did you see anything unusual?
There was a car. The car was sitting across the road from my house and these little clump of trees right on the other side of the Phillips house. And it was pointed at my house.
The headlights were shining right in our window.
Did you get a chance to get the make of it? Anything?
I'm pretty sure it was a sedan, white or maybe silver.
And then the car took off rather fast going toward our town, Abbeville.
Could the driver of this silver sedan be the one who shot Jamil?
The description fits the car that Dale Sr. and his neighbor Mary Stamp saw driving away after the murder. This may very well have been the shooter.
Armed with this new information, investigators continue searching the area.
They find tire track impressions of where the car was parked in the mud. This was a great break in the case.
They were able to get tire impressions. They did a casting of that tire impression, and that'd be for future comparison to hopefully finding a car that matches the description that the neighbors gave to kind of match those up.
Next, investigators search the tree line on the border of the Phillips property. There, they make another discovery.
They find a grouping of cigarette butts, 4 cigarette butts that are kind of along the line of the trees that separate their lot from their neighbor.
The cigarette butts appeared to be fresh. It had rained earlier that day. Cigarette butts were on top of the grass. They were dry.
They put those in evidence and hoping to match them to DNA that they might have on record.
It was our theory that the shooter got out of the car, sat on the wood line, waited, smoked several cigarettes, dropped them out.
From the cigarette butts, investigators follow the killer's probable path to the house, stopping at some bushes on the right.
Detectives felt this is probably where the shooter stood when he or she fired at Jamil.
Because the front porch light was off. Not able to see anyone who was very close, lying in wait with a gun.
CSIs check the area for shell casings, but don't find any, which indicates the killer's gun was likely a revolver.
Once the shooter fires the shots and hits Jamil Phillips, he turned around and ran back through the Phillips yard, through the tree line, over the fence, and in the car, and then they sped off.
Detectives now think they know what happened, but are left to wonder just who would want Jamil Phillips dead.
We definitely knew that this was a targeted situation because somebody that doesn't know the people that live there is not going to lay there for hours waiting. There's no reason for this to have happened to Jamil Phillips.
Would the trail of clues lead them straight to the killer, or down a dead-end road of mystery and confusion?
She had some jewelry robbed from her apartment, and Jamil Phillips shot dead. The question comes up, is somebody targeting the Phillips family?
It's March 25th, 2013, and detectives in Abbeville, South Carolina are struggling to make sense out of the fatal shooting of 31-year-old Jamil Phillips, who was gunned down just hours earlier on the front porch of his parents' home.
When we first arrived, we believed that it was probably someone lying in wait that was waiting on a specific target. The thing that we didn't know at the time is that who was the specific target they were waiting for.
Investigators found evidence that the killer had been staking out the Phillips home, smoking cigarettes while hiding under a row of pine trees at the edge of the property.
We didn't have any information to saying that Jamil Phillips was the intended target.
One of the possibilities was that this could have been an armed robbery gone wrong. The car could have been there, casing the Phillips residence, waiting for an opportune moment to strike.
But Jamil was not robbed, and the time of day, as well as the location of the Phillips home, suggests burglary wasn't the killer's motive.
You might expect a rural house to be burglarized in the middle of the day when nobody's home. But typically this kind of armed robbery would not happen in that setting.
With robbery ruled out as a motive, police turn to the Phillips family to see if they can help piece together what limited information they've been able to gather. Jamil's brother, Dale Jr., supplies them with their strongest lead yet.
Your neighbor says she saw a white or silver sedan. Do you know anybody who drives that type of vehicle?
He said, well, I am going through a divorce with my estranged wife, Carlita Phillips. She drives a silver car.
Do you think she could possibly do something like this?
I don't think so. We had our problems, but I don't think she would do that.
Do you know how we can contact her?
I have her license plate number. Would that help?
We ran the license plate number that he provided to us, which came back to a Toyota Camry, and gave us the address of Carlita Phillips.
After speaking with the Phillips family, detectives make their way to Carlita's apartment in the nearby town of Greenwood.
It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. When we pulled up into the apartment complex, we located the silver car, confirmed it through the tag. We pulled up beside it.
Examining the vehicle's wheel wells, detectives make a curious discovery.
They got mud all over these tires.
Before they go knock on Carlita Phillips' apartment door, they notice that there is some red mud in and around the tires and the wheel well of her vehicle. They go ahead and kind of look even in the parking lot and observe the type of tire tread that she has on the tires of her car.
Investigators can't help but wonder if these might be a match for the tread marks found near the crime scene.
But with tires You can't be 100% certain unless there's some type of nick or cut out of a tire specifically.
But it is enough for them to start wondering if this is the killer's car.
Carlita Phillips?
Yeah, what's going on? You know what time it is?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I know what time it is. I know it's late.
I informed her that there had been an incident at her ex-husband's parents' residence and that someone had been hurt.
Who?
Jamil Phillips, your brother-in-law. He's found shot to death.
Oh my God.
She seemed surprised and upset about Jamil's death.
How well do y'all get along?
Fine. We were always friendly.
Yeah.
And detectives asked her about her relationship with her estranged husband. And she responds, Dale Jr. and her sometimes just did not get along.
As detectives continue speaking with Carlita, they uncover a bizarre coincidence.
She filed a complaint down in Greenwood about a burglary at her house.
Some jewelry had been stolen, jewelry that her ex-husband Dale Phillips had bought her specifically had been stolen. She went around to some pawn shops, did not locate any of the stolen jewelry.
Could the two incidents be connected? Detectives aren't sure. But when they press Carlita about the mud on her tires, she offers a simple explanation.
She said, my daughter, I've been teaching her how to drive, and we went down some dirt road, and that's how we got the mud on the car.
She said that it had been raining and that her daughter had driven off the pavement a couple of times.
Did you and your daughter go to Abbeville this evening?
We were in Greenwood all day. We came home, she did her homework, we got ready for bed.
Investigators then talk to Carlita's daughter, who corroborates her mother's account.
She basically confirmed that they had been out at pawn shops looking for stolen jewelry, and then when they got back to the apartment, her mother was teaching her how to drive.
One last question, Miss Phillips. Do either one of you smoke?
No. Why?
Just curious.
With no known criminal history, it seems increasingly unlikely that Carlita Phillips had anything to do with Jamil's murder. Investigators inform her that they'll need to search her vehicle in order to cross her off the suspect list. When they examine the vehicle, detectives find nothing tying it or Carlita to Jamil's murder.
At this point, there is no concrete evidence linking Carlita to the crime. She doesn't smoke, her alibi checks out, and her car is clean. There really is no motive for her to have killed Jamil. And whatever the animosity that is between her and Dale Jr. does not rise to the level of murder.
As several days pass with no new leads, detectives fear the case is going cold. But soon, a local man will come forward with a tip that is sure to blow the case wide open.
A confidential informant tells investigators that maybe this was some retribution gone wrong.
Not only does this man say he knows why Jamil was killed, he knows who the killer is and is someone that no one would ever imagine.
It's been several days since the shooting death of 31-year-old Jamil Phillips, and investigators in Abbeville, South Carolina have made little headway in their search for his killer.
The Phillips family was living a waking nightmare.
Especially Dale Jr.
He's devastated. You could tell he was visibly upset because his younger brother got killed.
With the clock ticking and no other leads emerging, investigators decide to dig into Jamil's background a bit more, looking for a possible motive.
He wasn't a drug user. He was a guy that got up every morning. He went to work. There was no reason for it to happen to him.
By all accounts, everybody loved Jamil. But detectives know that there can be skeletons in almost everybody's closet if you look hard enough.
Couldn't find anybody that had anything bad to say about Jamil. We felt that this was not a random crime. We felt that this had to be something close to home.
With Jamil's squeaky clean background offering no additional leads, investigators return to the forensic evidence, namely the cigarette butts and plaster casts of the tire tracks. But that proves an equally fruitless endeavor.
We were able to develop a DNA profile from those cigarette butts that was an unknown male profile.
And though the tire treads match the same kind found on Carlita Phillips' vehicle, it's virtually meaningless as evidence.
They proved to be one of the most common brands in the country. In upstate South Carolina alone, there were literally thousands of cars with the same type.
That essentially clears Dale Jr.'s wife, Carlita, from suspicion. While her car was similar to the one seen by witnesses and could have made the impressions in the mud, she clearly was not the one who smoked the cigarettes.
With each passing day, the case gets a little colder and the community a bit more nervous. Could a random killer still be on the loose?
I was very afraid, because we didn't know who had done it. They were going to shoot somebody else in the neighborhood.
I think everybody was on edge when this occurred and wondering how long is it going to take for this crime to be solved.
Nobody is more desperate to see Jamil's killer brought to justice than his own family. His parents even go so far as to offer a $10,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest.
Shortly after the Phillips family offers a reward, a man in Abbeville comes forward claiming that he had information about the case.
The man is Charles Simpson, a neighbor of the Phillips family.
So some of the information that we got as far as theories of what happened was one of the neighbors stated that a gentleman was looking for him, that he drove a silver colored car. He believed that there was some issue between the two of them and he was looking for him. So he went to the wrong house and ended up shooting the wrong person.
Why do you think that you were the intended target?
Look, man, we had this big fight at work. I mean, after the fight, he came up and threatened me, talking about, I don't know who he messing with.
Yeah, what's his name?
Terrence Alden.
On the heels of Charles Simpson's statement, investigators bring Terrence Alden in for questioning.
Alden denies any involvement in Jamil's murder. He said his beef with Simpson was over a minor monetary amount, certainly nothing that would cause one to kill.
You drive a Camry? A silver one?
Well, my girlfriend drives a Camry.
But you drive it occasionally, right?
Sure. So?
When's the last time you driven the car?
About a week ago, I don't know. It's been impounded recently.
That was days prior to Jamil's murder.
We spoke to Alden's girlfriend, who was the owner of the vehicle. We were able to determine that that vehicle had been impounded prior to the incident date by law enforcement.
Which means that it's impossible that Terrence Alden was driving a silver Camry on the night of the murder, which means the police have to scratch him from the suspect list.
Investigators continue to solicit leads from the public. However, none of their efforts pan out. But there are other tips. Police receive information that a drug dealer in Greenwood had been robbed by a man named Big Rail.
The informant seemed to think, well, maybe the Greenwood drug dealer had sent someone to get some vengeance and mistook Jamil Phillips for Big Rail.
This is the second mistaken identity theory that has been put forth, but detectives still have to look at any viable lead at this point.
Detectives track down the drug dealer and bring him in for questioning.
So he denies any involvement in Jamil's shooting, which is to be expected. Police ask him to provide a DNA sample, and he readily agrees.
The man's DNA doesn't match the cigarette butts, and he's also crossed off the suspect list.
After we ruled out all the information that we had received, the case kind of went cold at that point.
I know that the families get very discouraged. I can't imagine as a parent what they were going through.
Finally, in September 2013, 6 months after Jamil's murder, investigators receive a tip that breathes life back into the case. A lead that will ultimately lay bare a sordid tale of sex, exploitation, and mistaken identity.
The most compelling evidence came out at the very end. It was the 11th hour.
Detectives in Abbeville, South Carolina are investigating the shooting death of 31-year-old Jamil Phillips. But after running down a number of leads, the case has hit a dead end, and the hopes of ever finding Jamil's killer are growing colder by the day.
6 months had passed, and it wasn't looking good. The family was losing hope. The community feared that a killer was on the loose and might strike again.
What investigators in Abbeville don't realize is that a seemingly unrelated crime in a city 13 miles away will ultimately hold the key to unmasking Jamil's murderer.
We actually got a phone call from an individual that told us that the person who killed Jamil Phillips was in the Greenwood County Detention Center.
Greenwood police tell Abbeville investigators that it all started about 6 weeks after Jamil's murder, when they started investigating a shooting of their own.
A Hispanic male was gunned down close to a plant here in the city of Greenwood. That individual's name was Prudencio Chiquin Cease.
Give me what? No.
It appeared to be a completely random murder of Mr. Cease. He was shot in an attempted botched armed robbery.
Well, let's go.
Witnesses to the crime provided a detailed description of the two assailants.
The witness described one as a tall, lanky guy, and then the other a shorter African-American male with little braids in his hair.
Still, authorities in Greenwood were unable to locate the alleged perpetrators. That is, until the Crime Stoppers hotline received an unexpected call.
A tipster called in and said, you might want to look at this guy that goes by the name Perp.
Police soon learned from neighborhood informants that Perp was the nickname for Tavares Settles, a 17-year-old high school student with braided hair. Tavares was known to associate with another young man, Mitchell Williams. Tall and slender, Williams had a criminal record and was identified by other informants as being with Tavares the night Prudencio Cease was murdered. Armed with this information, police in Greenwood interviewed Tavares and Mitchell and collected DNA samples they believed would connect one or both of them to the shooting.
The Greenwood City Police Department actually had shell casings that they wanted to confirm maybe who loaded the ammo into the weapon.
The results of the DNA test ultimately revealed that Tavares Perp Settles fired the weapon that killed Prudencio Cease.
Settles was a shooter in the case, and at that time, he was placed over here in the Greenwood County Detention Center.
But as Tavares' case inched toward trial, investigators began to hear some pretty unusual rumors.
Word on the street came back to us that Tavares Perp Settles had some kind of connection and relationship with Carlita Phillips.
So now we have an accused killer with a tie to someone who has already been investigated in connection with Jamil Phillips's murder.
So they start digging into Tavares' background, talking to friends, girlfriends, family, whomever.
You know Perp Settles?
More like knew. I was his girl.
So, what happened?
I dumped his sorry ass. I found out he was hooking up with some lady that was old enough to be my mother.
You know her name?
Yeah, Phillips. Carlita, I think. Anyways, her daughter's in our class.
This is absolutely scandalous. Perp Settles was a high school student at the time.
The allegation that 39-year-old Carlita Phillips could be dating her daughter's friend has investigators floored.
So you're saying you saw them together?
Yeah, once. So gross.
She saw Tavares and Carlita being very affectionate to one another. Carlita had bought him new pairs of sneakers, had spent quite a lot of money on him.
In following up with others who were familiar with Tavares and Carlita's supposed relationship, police uncover the most shocking allegation yet.
We went and interviewed his cousins. They both indicated that Carlita Phillips had asked Tavares Settles to kill her husband for $13,000 of the insurance money.
Is it possible Tavares took his new girlfriend up on her offer, but accidentally shot Jamil Phillips instead of her ex-husband, Dale Jr.? On December 10, 2013, detectives pay a visit to the Greenwood Detention Center where Tavares Settles is being held. Tavares wastes no time implicating Carlita Phillips in the murder of Jamil.
All right, let's just get to the meat of what can you tell me about it?
All right, the woman, Carlita, she asked me what I killed a man for $13,000. I turned it down, and she's like, "You crazy? Why you said no?" And I told her, and we're taking nobody's life.
Where did she tell you this?
At her house.
During this interview, Tavares not only denies carrying out the murder, but he denies having any kind of intimate relationship with Carlita. He says he knows her only through her daughter.
Explain to him how you knew her family.
Okay, her kids supposed to be my cousins. I be chilling around.
Did Carlita ever tell you who she wanted you to kill?
No, sir.
So she never gave you a name or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay.
Settles says one of his friends, Mitchell Williams, may have taken Carlita up on her offer.
He believed that he contacted Carlita.
Skeptical that Tavares is telling the truth, investigators obtain his DNA sample from the Greenwood police. They compare it to the genetic profile obtained from the cigarette butts found near the Phillips home. Finally, 9 months after the murder of Jamil Phillips, the results come in.
Investigators find a match. Settles' DNA is all over those cigarettes.
It's clear to them he must have been waiting there to kill Dale Jr. and mistakenly shot Jamil instead.
At that point, what we still had was unanswered questions. We didn't have Carlita admitting that she had asked Perp Settles to do anything to her ex-husband, but we had Perp Settles saying that.
While they may not have enough evidence to make a murder charge against Carlita stick, detectives can haul Miss Phillips in on lesser related charges.
We had enough evidence based on statements by Settles to charge Carlita Phillips with using a minor to commit a felony.
But Carlita Phillips does not come peacefully.
When Carlita was arrested on the 18th of December, she did resist. They ultimately had to tase her to subdue her and get her back to the detention center.
Once she is in custody, detectives question Carlita, starting with her relationship with Dale Jr. It's soon clear that she harbored more anger than the typical spurned spouse.
The divorce was nasty. I mean, we've been fighting for 14 years.
Carlita admits that the couple's marriage did not fail because of the occasional argument. She had come to hate her husband.
Carlita pivots from what she originally told police the day after the murder. She had even told her daughter that she wished Dale Jr. was dead.
According to Carlita, it was a situation for which her daughter had posed a shocking solution.
Who told Perp to kill him?
I don't know, maybe my daughter?
Carlita gave a statement that her daughter informed her, if you get these guys involved, they don't mess around. These guys are serious about what they do. These guys, they're gangbangers.
Though she admits to having met Tavares when her daughter brought him around, Carlita denies ever taking the suggestion seriously. She also denies ever having a sexual relationship with Tavares.
She stated that her daughter must have put Tavares up to it.
Detectives aren't buying Carlita's story.
Game's over, Carlita. This is it. If you don't tell me the truth right now, without all these damn lies, we're walking out of here.
After sleeping in a holding cell for a couple of nights, Carlita decides to alter her initial statement.
So what's today's story?
I wasn't saying that it was my daughter. I wasn't saying that.
She completely denies her daughter having any involvement.
Tell me what happened when you and Perp came up with the plan to kill Dale Jr. and Perp shot the wrong person. Tell me who he was with when he got there, and tell me who he was with when he left. Tell me how he thought it was Dale Jr., and you found out hours later it was Jamil. Tell me what transpired during that time.
Can I write it?
Go get us on the right with pen and paper or something.
So over the course of the next hour, Carlita writes out a statement that essentially says after 9 years of marriage, she wants out. She hated him.
So much so that she had secretly begun dating the much younger Tavares Settles in the months before.
She was more than twice his age. She was well in her 30s. And she plied Tavares sex, drugs. She had a great influence over him.
Carlita claims her friendship with Tavares helped keep her mind off her nasty split with Dale Jr. That is until Dale demanded she give back several gifts he'd given her during the course of their marriage.
Carlita alludes to the fact that as a part of their divorce, Dale Jr. wanted her to return some expensive jewelry he had bought for her. And when she refused, that's when he supposedly got angry.
According to Carlita, Dale Jr. was so angry that on March 25th, 2013, he broke into her apartment and stole the jewelry from her.
We were never able to prove that Dale Jr. had anything to do with the break into Carlita Phillips' apartment and stealing any of the jewelry. Carlita Phillips, she gives somewhat of a confession that she was upset with Dale Jr. about the jewelry, and she sent Tavares Settles over just to beat him up. At that point, Tavares said that me and my boys don't play, we'll take care of it.
According to Carlita's statement, she never told Tavares to kill Dale Jr., nor did she offer him any money. But she did give Settles an address and keys to her car.
The motivation here is obviously their sexual relationship with Tavares. He wanted to impress her.
In every previous statement, Carlita says she never let anybody borrow her car. Now she is saying, yeah, Perp drives off in my car.
She directed them out to this house where they had never been before.
Carlita insists she had no idea that Tavares planned on killing Dale Jr. until he returned to her apartment later that evening.
Detectives still don't believe Carlita's telling the truth. They believe she had been planning to kill Dale for a while. So along comes Tavares, a young, strong, handsome kid, and she decides she can manipulate him.
We now, with her statement, we can get the accessory before the fact of a murder.
Carlita's ever-changing story to police certainly didn't help her cause. At first, she claimed she had no role in Jamil's death. Then she claimed Dale Jr. had stolen jewelry from her. And then she claimed that she had told Perp to take care of him, but didn't believe he would actually kill Dale. If you can't keep your story straight with detectives, they'll see right through the lies.
On December 19th, 2013, Carlita Phillips is formally indicted with soliciting a minor to commit a violent crime and accessory to murder. But as the case heads to trial, prosecutors hit a major roadblock, one that could result in Carlita walking away scot-free.
He said that he wanted to remain silent, that he was not going to testify on the state's behalf.
We knew it was going to be an uphill battle.
Investigators in Abbeville, South Carolina, believe the shooting of Jamil Phillips on the night of March 25, 2013 was a case of mistaken identity. They think that the intended target was Jamil's older brother, Dale Jr. They also believe that the murder plot was hatched by Dale's soon-to-be ex-wife, 39-year-old Carlita Phillips, who seduced 17-year-old Tavares Perp Settles and convinced him to carry out the crime.
Both Perp Settles and Carlita were charged. Settles was charged with murder, and Carlita was charged with solicitation of a minor to commit a violent crime, and later as an accessory before the fact to murder.
As the case winds its way through the court system, Tavares Settles goes to trial in neighboring Greenwood County for the murder of Prudencio Chiquin Cease.
Perp Settles is convicted in Greenwood of killing Mr. Cease. He was sentenced to 45 years for that murder.
With Settles locked away in the state penitentiary, prosecutors decide to try Carlita Phillips first. But as they prepare for trial, their case hits a snag.
The judge had ruled during the trial that a lot of Perp Settles' statements to other people, and including law enforcement, were not going to be admissible.
Because of the hearsay rule, Perp's statements that Carlita hired him to kill Dale can't be used unless Perp is actually in court and subject to cross-examination by the defense lawyer.
And when Settles is asked by prosecutors to testify against Carlita, he refuses.
He's going to exercise his right to remain silent.
On the first day of trial, the prosecution makes the pro forma move of calling Tavares Perp Settles to the stand.
We asked Tavares Settles, do you want to invoke your right to remain silent? And he said that he wanted to remain silent, that he was not going to testify on the state's behalf.
On July 21st, 2015, with Tavares Settles pleading the fifth, Carlita's trial begins. In their opening statement, prosecutors paint Carlita as a bitter divorcee who was willing to seduce a minor in order to exact revenge on her husband.
To support their theory, the prosecutor's office called several witnesses to the stand who actually testified to the sexual nature of Carlita and Tavares' relationship.
It's lurid testimony to be sure, but Carlita's defense team claims she had no idea Tavares Settles was going to shoot anyone, and that the trigger man was a love-struck punk kid who was willing to do anything to impress his sugar mama.
Their opening statement was Carlita didn't know Perp would kill Jamil, intending to impress Carlita Phillips.
The defense also claims that even though Carlita and Dale Jr. were getting a divorce, she had no real motive to murder him. That's when prosecutors introduce a bombshell piece of evidence.
Dale Phillips Jr., through his business, had $500,000 in life insurance. The default beneficiary on this was Carlita Phillips. After their divorce proceedings had begun, Carlita had taken out a $25,000 life insurance policy.
If you're trying to divorce him, then why would you take out a life insurance policy in his name unless you kind of expected him to die?
The defense also points out that without Tavares Settles' testimony, the case is purely circumstantial. That's when the prosecutors inform the judge their star witness has had a change of heart.
Perp Settles' attorney said, well, he's seen the light now. He's ready to come testify.
And I think that his conscience caught up to him and he wanted to do the right thing.
We didn't make any offers to him. We said, you can testify and then later we'll see what happens.
On July 23, 2015, Tavares Perp Settles takes the stand against his former lover, Carlita Phillips.
Once Carlita Phillips sees Tavares walking in that back door, you could see she knew she was done for.
Tavares opens his testimony by recounting the details of his May-December romance with Carlita.
We had Tavares Settles, this 10th grade kid, admitting to having a sexual relationship with Carlita Phillips over a period of time.
Tavares also testifies that she used sex, along with the promise of $13,000 to convince him to kill her ex-husband. But the murder-for-hire allegations and the accounts of an affair with someone twice his age aren't even the most shocking details of Tavares' testimony.
He told us that she drove him over to the house, that he laid in wait by a wood line, admitted he didn't know it was not Dale Phillips. He thought it was. and he just ran up to the porch and started shooting. He then ran back to the car, jumped in the car, and Mr. Phillips took him back to Georgetown Apartments.
The shocking revelation puts prosecutors in a quandary. It actually weakens their case.
There's a part of the statute where being accessory before the fact, you can't actually be there at the location.
If you're present at the scene of a murder, you're actually an accomplice to the murder itself. The defense raised at that point and say, well, our client's not charged with murder. She's charged with accessory before the fact.
But then, prosecutors draw an important distinction. Carlita wasn't at the scene of the actual murder.
The car would have been far enough away from the house. It was on the adjacent property to the Phillips residence.
If she was there with him, more than likely, he would have shot the right guy. He would have shot Dale Jr. and not Jamil.
So ultimately, the theory and the elements of accessory before the fact of murder were still applicable.
She was the one that made it possible at all for this to happen. She drove him there, and she drove him away from Jamil's bleeding body.
I think there's a good chance we could have convicted her anyway. But having the full story for the jury certainly closed the loop on some of the unanswered questions that were there.
Carlita's defense attorneys do their best to neutralize Settle's explosive testimony.
This guy had told some unbelievable stories to police. His credibility was definitely in question, and the defense seized that opportunity.
Tavares Settle's testimony proves to be the difference in the case. After a brief deliberation, the jury finds Carlita Phillips guilty of soliciting a minor to commit a felony and accessory to murder. The judge sentences her to life in prison plus 15 years.
She pulled the trigger. He might have done it in actuality, but she pulled the trigger. He was her instrument, her tool.
She put him on that collision course where he took the life of Jamil Phillips.
For the Phillips family, this both comes as vindication, but it's also a bittersweet moment. No matter how long a sentence she faces, nothing's going to bring Jamil back.
In September 2015, Tavares Settles pleads guilty to the murder of Jamil Phillips and is sentenced to 40 years in prison to run concurrently with his conviction in the Prudencio Cease case. Meanwhile, the Phillips family is left to pick up the pieces and move on with their lives as best they can.
Dale Phillips and his wife did not sleep in that house again until after we prosecuted him and convicted him. They did not feel safe in their own home after this happened.
Perhaps nobody has been more profoundly affected by the crime than its intended target, Jamil's brother, Dale Phillips Jr.
He obviously has gone through emotions that I think all of us would go through. That bullet was meant for me, not my brother, and yet he was killed instead.
I think that was hard for Dale to live with. I think he carried that weight on his shoulders that his younger brother is now the one that's dead, and his younger brother had nothing to do with it.
A young woman is terrorized by a menacing stalker.
He's been calling her, he's been calling her friends, he's been calling where she works.
A caring friend is in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Hey, man, look. The officer responded to the location, observed a vehicle with its door open.
Looks like I've got 2 gunshot victims. Send me back up as soon as possible.
Somebody was in the car for a period of time waiting for them to come back, waiting to kill them.
The ensuing murder investigation leads law enforcement down a twisting path of cold brutality and malicious deceit.
Who would do this to this pair of friends?
But in a case as shocking as this one, what you see isn't always what you get.
I think he's got the personality to climb in your bedroom window and slit your throat in the middle of the night. If he wants to kill you, he would do it by any means necessary.
December 7th, 2008, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Landlord Cheryl Wilson and her son Sean are spending a quiet evening at home when they're suddenly interrupted by a series of loud booms.
That came from right outside.
Get away from the window.
While Cheryl dials 911, Bridgeport, Connecticut police officer Sergeant Melody Perbesh is on her usual neighborhood beat when she too hears the disturbing sounds.
Sergeant Melody Prebish was patrolling the neighborhood. She was close by, and then she heard shots. So she took action to see exactly what was going on.
I've got gunshots in the area. I'm trying to pinpoint the location now. I may need some backup.
She just sort of took one turn after another trying to figure out where they were coming from. And it's a very hard thing to figure out where gunshots are coming from in the city. And she happened to get hit on the right spot. She ended up on Ash Street.
She saw a man in the driver's seat who had already died.
Looks like I've got 2 gunshot victims. Send me backup as soon as possible.
There was a lady in the passenger seat who was clinging to life.
Send me an ambulance. I've got one with a pulse.
The radio reported that there had been multiple shots fired in the vicinity of Ash Street, and 2 parties were hit, and that ambulances were on the way.
As the scene is secured, Cheryl Wilson identifies the victims for police. Her tenant, 36-year-old Debbie Brown, and Debbie's friend, Desmond McFarland.
Desmond is already dead. Debbie is still clinging on to life.
She's still alive, but riddled with blood and bullets.
As paramedics load Debbie onto a gurney, the next few minutes are critical.
This is truly a life or death situation.
But what no one yet knows is what sparked this deadly shooting. As detectives worked to find a killer, they could never imagine the faces of deception that would stand between them and justice.
This was something that Connecticut was not used to.
It was very confusing. No one knew what to make of it. This individual was a master of deceit.
Born on October 9th, 1972, Debbie Brown grew up with a loving family on the Caribbean island of Jamaica.
My mom was born in Kingston. She's my grandma's last child. She's the baby. She was light-skinned. She was really tall. She has really, really nice lips. I think I got her lips. My mom was gorgeous.
And Debbie's beauty was only rivaled by her infectious personality.
She loved enjoying herself. She loved people being around her to be happy. If you're around her, there's not one dull moment. You gotta always smile. You gotta always laugh. Always enjoy yourself. There's not a dull moment when she's around.
In 1992, Debbie's warm spirit and good looks quickly caught the attention of a local musician, Otis Morrison.
He was a DJ at the time. He was an entertainer. A DJ in Jamaica is like a rap artist. My mom had known him because he lived up the street. So they were friends before progressing into a relationship.
I wrote your song.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah, I had no choice. You're all I think about.
Before long, the music of their love produced their greatest joy together.
They had a wonderful daughter named Regine.
Regine was her pride and joy, and Regine was her motivation for doing just about everything.
But even though this couple shared a beautiful daughter, after nearly 6 years together, the hardships of an entertainer's life drove a wedge between Debbie and Otis.
My mom and my dad stayed together for quite a while until I was, let's say, 4 or 5.
When Debbie finally split from Otis in 1998, she struggled to find gainful employment. Needing a fresh start, in 2002, she decided to look for opportunities beyond the borders of her beloved home country.
She transitioned to the United States, taking her daughter with her and providing her daughter with the American dream.
She wanted a better life for me, being her only kid. She stayed in New York with a friend for some time. She settled in Connecticut.
Once in Connecticut, Debbie pursued a career in the healthcare industry.
She was doing the best that she could for her daughter, being a single parent, and she worked as a home health nurse, which was a great way of making income, and she was really looking forward to that career.
Debbie Brown was a very good working person. She worked as a CNA, and she also worked as a nanny, and she always was very conscientious.
But Debbie's new life in America wasn't all hard work. In 2006, she met a young expat from Jamaica named Sheldon Reynolds.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're from Jamaica?
Excuse me?
The earrings.
Oh, Kingston, actually.
Kingston.
Yeah, my name's Debbie.
Debbie. Sheldon.
They immediately hit it off. Sheldon was a lot like Debbie in that he was forging a new life in Connecticut.
So, how do you like America?
I like it. It's not always easy, but it's the best for me and my daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
They had a wonderful relationship, and everything was new to her.
I didn't know anything about him prior. So when I met him, I just figured more or less, all right, well, now my mom has a boyfriend, so it's just normal.
Sheldon, this is my daughter Regine. Regine, this is Sheldon.
Nice to meet you, Regine. I don't know which one's prettier between the two of you.
Honey, take these upstairs. I'll be up in a minute, okay? Okay.
He was really nice to me. If my mom was gonna go somewhere, he'd give me money.
Sheldon helped Debbie take care of her daughter, which meant the world to her.
Eventually, the relationship became serious enough to support the family dynamic Debbie had left behind in Jamaica.
Debbie Brown, single mother, took her young daughter and ultimately moved in with Sheldon Reynolds, residing together for some time in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
But as Debbie grew to be accepted in her Connecticut community as a loving mother and devoted caretaker, she began to wonder if being lucky in life meant being unlucky in love.
I need someone stable in my life, Sheldon. I need someone with a stable job, not whatever it is you do.
What I do provides for this home.
He was always frequent in New York. We'd leave Bridgeport to go to New York just for him to stay 5 minutes and talk to somebody.
It's not working out, Sheldon. It's not how I thought it was going to be.
They had a wonderful family life. Then things went south, so she had to move out.
But it wasn't long before Debbie was back on her feet again.
Debbie moved in with her longtime friend Cheryl on Ash Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Things started going well for Debbie. She had people around her who cared for her. She was saving money by having roommates, so things were going in the right direction.
Cheryl Wilson agreed to have Debbie and her daughter live with them. Also in that apartment were two young adult children of Cheryl Wilson and a cousin, I believe, living there at the time.
Naturally, it was only a matter of time before a woman as captivating as Debbie caught the eye of a charming 41-year-old named Desmond McFarland.
They met in the fall of 2008, just a few months after her breakup with Sheldon.
My mom would always want to go out. When she met Desmond, she was like, yes. She had someone to take her to places because he had lived in Bridgeport for quite a while. He owned a restaurant also. He was just like a great guy.
He was a family man. He had a daughter. He had a job. He was a very hardworking person.
He'd pick her up from the train station. I think he just did it out of my mom being hot. So I just think he wanted to do it.
But whether this budding friendship was destined for something more will forever remain a mystery. Because on this cold December night in Connecticut, the unspeakable happens. And as Debbie clings to life, the hunt for answers begins.
Just telling me that an ambulance took my mom. So I did not cry at that point because I cannot process what you're telling me.
The winter of 2008 marked the 6th year in America for 36-year-old Jamaican-born expat Debbie Brown. And though no one meant more to Debbie than her daughter Regine, this exotic angel still attracted plenty of attention from the opposite sex.
She knew how to put herself together. Very, 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 very attractive.
One of the men vying for Debbie's affection was 41-year-old Desmond McFarland.
Desmond was definitely attracted to her, and they seemed to have a lot in common.
But now, on December 7th, 2008, that friendship lay drowned in blood mere feet from the safety of Debbie's home.
Police arrive on the scene. They're not exactly sure what they're dealing with here. They know they have lots of bullets. They've got at least one dead body. Debbie is taken from the scene. There's a potential that she could make it.
Debbie had been shot multiple times, and now doctors were fighting to save her life.
Inside Debbie's second-floor apartment, her daughter Regine quickly becomes aware of the unfolding tragedy.
What happened? Honey, I'm sorry. Your mother's been shot.
So sorry.
I went onto the porch because there's a porch overlooking outside, and I saw the car out there. And then they told me that Desmond is dead.
As Bridgeport detectives arrive, they find a scene of unspeakable carnage.
The driver, he was slumped over the wheel. His head was down. There was blood on him. He was lifeless. There was no signs of life. So Mr. McFarland was left in the vehicle to preserve the integrity of the investigation. There would be no point in moving him at that point.
2 victims forced detectives to consider every last possibility.
Was Desmond the target? Or Debbie? Or both? Maybe this was a domestic situation between the two of them.
Unfortunately, investigators know it's not the first crime to plague this already troubled area.
There's a lot of crime that comes through the I-95 corridor. It's very easy for criminal groups to target places in Fairfield County.
Chris Barono and his team started investigating. They went through the evidence. They cased the crime scene to see exactly who would do this to this set of friends.
Whenever there's a major crime like this and they set up a perimeter to try to keep contamination, so something doesn't contaminate the crime scene, they set up a perimeter and then they meticulously go through everything that they can, all the area around, looking for shell casings, looking for blood, looking for weapons, looking for anything that might be useful in figuring out the crime.
Both victims had been shot multiple times, and there was no gun found at the scene.
They've got bullets riddled all over.
There were a total of 11 shots. Desmond was shot 6 times and Debbie was shot 5 times.
What we got here? Like 40 cal shell casings. Let's get these back and processed.
So from there, we need to find out more details about what happened.
Detectives learn more when they speak to Sergeant Prabesh about her initial response.
I was patrolling the area and I heard several gunshots ring out. I located this vehicle. The vehicle was running and the passenger door was still open.
Ms. Brown's body was actually almost on top of Mr. McFarland.
Did you see anybody flee?
No, I didn't see anybody flee.
Sergeant Prebish said it looked to her as if the shooting was coming from the passenger side and Ms. Brown was in the passenger seat.
Sergeant Prabesh's account leads detectives to reach a conclusion.
He was shot first and she was trying to get away from the shooter at that point and climbing over Mr. McFarland's body, trying to get to the driver's side door.
Was Debbie simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? At this point, investigators still aren't certain. Then detectives receive word of a gut-wrenching development.
Debbie was taken to the hospital, and she was pronounced dead at the hospital.
That lady they took to the hospital passed away.
News of the tragedy spreads to Debbie's devastated family.
I just automatically not that kid. My mom said I couldn't do anything but cry. And I cried and I cried.
It's like, I didn't believe it. And I didn't believe it. When I hear it, it just don't sound real to me.
While the cloud of pain and anguish hangs heavy over Regine and her family, the development only makes investigators more resolute.
From there, I start a neighborhood canvass. I start knocking on doors. I start talking to people who have the potential to be witnesses.
The detectives wanted to talk to everyone at the house. They talked to Sean Nugent, who was Cheryl Wilson's son.
Tell us what you know.
Well, my mom and I were sitting down at dinner, and I was setting out plates, and we just heard this bang, bang, bang. So I went to the window to see what was going on, and I just saw this guy running away.
Sean only reports catching a glimpse of the perpetrator, but what he did see may prove crucial to investigators.
Now, it was dark, so he couldn't describe facial features or anything like that, but he said it was a slight man.
Sean noticed that the slim black man was wearing a tam hat, which is a very distinctive feature.
A tam? Yeah, you know, like the hats that Jamaican guys wear, like a beanie.
Police immediately issue an APB on the unknown assailant. In the meantime, questions continue to swirl.
Who was this man, and why had he perpetrated this terrible crime?
But as investigators continue to widen their search, a tantalizing piece of information is about to be uncovered. And it may just explain how Debbie and Desmond found themselves in the crosshairs of a killer.
You reported a complaint about what, ma'am? That guy named David, he's all after me.
December 7th, 2008. Police in Bridgeport, Connecticut are investigating a brutal double homicide that has claimed the lives of 36-year-old Debbie Brown and her 41-year-old friend, Desmond McFarland. Detectives suspect this attack wasn't random, but a specifically targeted killing.
Based on the evidence and at least the angle of the bullets, it appeared that the individual shot Desmond first. So was he the target of what was going on?
Was this a vengeance? Did Desmond have any enemies who wanted to make sure he was dead?
Who, if anyone, was out to get Desmond?
But as police talk to friends and family, it seems the Bridgeport restaurateur makes an unlikely target.
He was really an all-around great guy. I mean, he was really a great person.
He was also helping Debbie. She used the train to commute to and from her jobs, and so he would give her a ride to the train station and back. He was a very generous, kind-hearted man. We didn't have any information that there would be anybody out there looking to kill Mr. McFarland.
If not Desmond, then what about Debbie?
Potentially Debbie, the home health aide, the single mother. This young lady, potentially She too had some enemies.
Miss Wilson.
We just want to ask you a few questions, okay?
Yes, of course.
He says, do you know who did this? She said, I think, she's been having problems with her boyfriend, Donald Davis.
That's her boyfriend?
Yes.
What's he been doing?
He's been acting crazy.
It was discovered that Debbie was being harangued and harassed on a constant nature by an individual, a male, who was calling her constantly at both her work, her home, and I guess on her cell. It was to the point that Debbie had alerted her employers, do not indicate to this person that I'm even here.
This guy was calling her home, calling her friends, calling her work, being loud and cursing. So it really frightened Debbie.
Cheryl tells detectives that the stalking and threats had become severe enough that Debbie reached out to police in mid-October. Bridgeport police records confirm Cheryl's story.
There were 911 calls about this individual who had approached her on her job, startling her, telling her, I'm going to get you.
Bridgeport Police, operator 20. Yeah, I made a complaint about Donald Davis. He's right there at the door now. You reported a complaint about what, ma'am?
Donald Davis, he's harassing me.
All right.
He's right at my door now.
It's a stunning revelation, and detectives waste little time in chasing down a hot lead.
They also asked you have his phone number, and they did because he had been calling their phone, so they had his cell phone number.
So when we go back to headquarters, we start doing paperwork and requests of the provider for that cell phone number, and we get the name back of Donald Davis and an address in New York, in the Bronx.
The next stop for Bridgeport detectives is the Bronx, New York, where they believe they'll find Donald Davis, the man reported to be terrorizing Debbie Brown.
Once they got the address, they went to that address in the Bronx, knocked on the door.
Yes, sir. I'm Officer Chris Barona with the Bridgeport Police Department.
I'm looking for Donald Davis. Is it you, sir?
No, my name's Mark Stewart. What's this about?
The Sprint number, although it is registered to Donald Davis, the address to where the bill goes is to an address in the Bronx of Mark Stewart.
It seems at first detectives have been led astray, but Mark Stewart is forthright with what he knows.
Mark started explaining to police officers he knew Donald Davis, and Donald Davis had his mail sent to Mark's house, that address where the police were knocking on the doors.
He agreed to take us to Castle Hill Avenue, to a brick apartment building, and he believed that Donald Davis lived on the second or third floor, but he wasn't sure.
But when detectives arrive at the building with Mark, there appears to be no sign of Donald.
The next day, we come back to Castle Hill Avenue at 9 o'clock in the evening. We're walking around the project there, apartments. We're in the courtyard, and here comes this skinny guy, big glasses on, and a hat.
A hat just like the one Sean described seeing on the unknown male fleeing the scene of the crime.
He said, this looks like the guy. So we stopped him. He said, hey, is your name Donald Davis? No. I think he said his name was Paul. I said, no, your name's not Paul. Your name's Donald Davis.
They approached him and asked him if he had a girlfriend in Bridgeport named Debbie, and he said he did.
Detectives pressed Donald Davis for details about his relationship with Debbie.
It was a long time ago, man. I'm with someone new.
Someone murdered her and another man last night in Bridgeport.
Dead.
Dead.
Debbie.
Debbie.
He had no remorse on his face, no expression on his face, except to say, don't say that, Debbie's not dead. He said, oh yeah, she's dead.
He was stoic with no emotion and said, no, she's not.
They asked him where he was the night before, the night of the murder, and he said he was in New York. First, he said he was with a girlfriend. They asked for the name of the girlfriend.
Donald chooses not to let the police know who his girlfriend happens to be.
We went back and forth in a dialogue. He wouldn't tell us. Do you have a car? Yeah, I have a car. Oh, where is it? He wouldn't tell us.
Detectives believe they've picked up a scent, but for now, they'll have to leave the trail.
Our encounter down in the Castle Hill apartments was what you would call a consensual encounter. We didn't have the authority or the probable cause to arrest him or detain him.
The police, at this point, they really don't have a whole lot to go on. Their senses are alerted. Potentially, they have a suspect.
He could have said, I don't want to talk to you, and kept walking. But he chose to stay and talk to us because I have a feeling he wanted to know what we knew and why we were there.
He's agitated, but he's not admitting anything that gave them information that would give them reason to believe that he was the perpetrator.
But as investigators prepare to cast a wider net, they'll soon learn that with every bit of new information they haul in, the picture only gets muddier and more frightening.
He said that he was looking for his wife, Debbie. She said, Debbie's not here, you have to leave.
She was scared to death of this man.
Nearly 48 hours after Debbie Brown and her friend Desmond McFarland were gunned down in a car outside Debbie's home, Bridgeport police acted on a tip that Debbie's ex, Donald Davis, had been stalking her. Investigators tracked Donald down. They got nothing out of him.
He seems puzzled. He seems not to have any knowledge of what has transpired.
Absent a warrant, absent probable cause, we have no authority to arrest this man, just based on what we know.
As detectives continue their rounds of interviews, they soon speak with a co-worker of Debbie's named Lavella Cooper.
It is our understanding that you were a friend and colleague of Debbie's?
That's right. Did you notice anything strange about her? Any threats?
Well, some man came to see her one night. It was early October, and I was working in a home in Greenwich. Scared me half to death.
Lavella and Debbie were both home health aides, caring for an individual with medical issues. It was a 24-hour care service in which they would stay within the individual's residence overnight.
Debbie generally worked on the weekends and Miss Cooper worked during the week.
Debbie asked me to switch shifts with her.
Lavella says the night she worked Debbie's shift had gone fine until she was awoken in the early morning hours by a strange commotion inside her patient's bedroom.
Approximately 5:30 in the morning on that shift, Lavella was awakened by a scream inside the house.
Oh my God! Who are you? And how did you get in here?
Someone entered the patient's home, not through the front door, but entered the place through the bedroom window.
He looked like a typical burglar. He had on a black outfit. He had on black gloves. She knew he had something in his right hand because he kept his hand behind him, which indicated he may have had a weapon.
She asked him what he was doing there. He said that he was looking for his wife, Debbie. She said, Debbie's not here, you have to leave.
But you better get out of here before I call the police.
When he discovered that Debbie wasn't working that day, he left through the front door.
Can you describe the man for me?
You know, he was tall, he was wearing a dark hoodie, and he had some sort of tam underneath the hoodie.
Tam?
Mm-hmm.
The man who broke into the house that night was wearing a tam.
That's the same style of hat that the man fleeing the crime scene had on.
Detectives believe this prowler might very well have been Donald Davis, but when they interview Debbie's supervisor, Beth Landers, they're thrown off the trail yet again.
What can you tell us about Debbie's boyfriend, Donald Davis?
Donald?
Yes.
I don't know him, but she was having trouble with a guy named Jimmy.
Jimmy?
Beth Landers was an employer of Debbie Brown, and they also had somewhat of a friendship. Debbie had confided in her that Jimmy had been abusive.
Jimmy, he would call the office all the time. He was always after her and so threatening.
Investigators confirm from the medical examiner's report on Debbie that there was a Jimmy in her life. It was written on her skin.
She had a tattoo that's called Jimmy, that had Jimmy on her arm.
First Donald Davis, and now Jimmy. Was Debbie being terrorized by two stalkers?
Detective Barona.
While detectives ponder this possibility, a call comes in from the Connecticut State Crime Lab where evidence from the scene is being processed.
We spoke to the identification unit, and lo and behold, there was a unfiled restraining order application in Debbie Brown's purse at the time that she was killed.
Apparently she had filled out the paperwork but not brought it back to the precinct.
That restraining order identifies a Donald Davis and a Mark Stewart as the potential target of this restraining order.
Suddenly, a tangled mess of possible identities throws law enforcement into confusion.
Not only do they have this Donald Davis and Jimmy to deal with, but now they have to wonder what they really know about Mark Stewart.
Are they the same person? Or are they two different people?
Is Mark really who he says he is? Is Donald?
While police struggle to untie this knot, detectives are about to make an even more astonishing breakthrough. And this one would be enough to spin everyone's heads right around.
They're running your data, your fingerprints, through a computer system. Then yet another name pops up.
In the long days following Debbie Brown and Desmond McFarland's murders, police in Bridgeport, Connecticut found themselves embroiled in an ever-growing complicated and mysterious case.
At this point, they have at least 3 names on their radar: Donald Davis, Jimmy, and Mark Stewart. Now they just had to find out who these individuals really are.
While detectives work to unravel this tangled mess, Bridgeport police make a huge breakthrough by way of observant bystanders on Ash Street.
A couple days after the murder, a young man and woman a couple of blocks away happened to find a gun in the bushes, and they turned it into the police.
The police tested the gun, and the ballistics matched the firearm that was used in the murder.
While ballistics confirm that the .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun is the murder weapon, they're missing the most desired piece of evidence.
It was dusted with fingerprints, but there were none to be found on this particular weapon. They could not tie this weapon to any particular person.
Without DNA residue, the gun will prove useless in identifying the perpetrator. But then, Cheryl Wilson, Debbie's friend and landlord, comes forward with a key piece of evidence.
She went into Debbie's room and got a photo of this person who she believed was terrorizing her and calling her constantly. And she gave that to law enforcement.
This is the guy that had been calling and harassing Debbie.
Detectives can see that the man they encountered on Castle Hill Avenue in the Bronx is the man depicted in the photograph.
This is Donald Davis.
I don't know if that's his real name, but that's definitely the man that had been bothering her.
So he has more than one name?
Yeah, I told you he's crazy.
As for Mark Stewart, detectives soon learned that he was nothing more than a pawn in Donald's twisted game.
Donald Davis had actually been using Mark Stewart's name.
Mr. Stewart is very, very scared. He's very concerned for his safety. Donald Davis, he was a bad guy. He would threaten people. He would extort people.
He had a reputation as someone who had been involved in other shootings or murders in Jamaica.
There's even stories of him from back in the days in Jamaica when he assassinated a man at a phone booth in the Waterhouse housing projects in Jamaica. So his reputation throughout the Jamaican community instills fear in anybody that may be involved with him or targeted by him.
In light of the new evidence, detectives feel increasingly confident Donald Davis is their triggerman. But without fingerprints on the gun or a positive eyewitness report, detectives can't bring in their primary suspect.
We need to work very quickly. Maybe he's going to hurt someone else. There's a lot of different scenarios that can happen when you're dealing with a dangerous individual like this man.
While authorities may not be able to pin these murders on Donald Davis just yet, they believe there may be a way to collar him.
They do believe that based on the information that Lavella gives them regarding the breaking and entering into the home of one of Debbie Brown's clients, at least they have a burglary.
Detectives bring Lavella Cooper down to the station to review the newly acquired photo of Donald Davis.
Man, we have a picture pertaining to one of the break-ins at one of your clients' homes.
Ma'am, is this the guy?
Yes, that's him.
Are you sure?
Yes, that's the man that ran out the house.
Lavella recognized the individual in this photograph as the same individual who entered that Greenwich home on that day, sometime in October.
The breaking and entering into a dwelling that not belonging to him is all you need for the charge of burglary.
They obtain a warrant for his arrest for burglary of that residence, for the unlawful entry of that residence.
On January 16th, 2009, a team of heavily armed officers descends on Donald's Bronx apartment building.
We had the full force of the U.S. Marshals. We had all their resources. We had everything we need. We had the Greenwich police with us. We had a lot of guys, and 20 guys went up the stairs because we weren't sure what to expect. This was a dangerous, violent felon. We were going to go take him into custody. We didn't know if he was going to employ force to resist arrest.
Mr. Davis, police, open up.
Put your hands behind your back.
He knew he was surrounded, and he let us in.
He was taken without incident and ultimately returned to Greenwich.
When police take Donald into custody for processing, the surprises keep coming.
Donald Davis is in the Greenwich Police Department. He's under arrest for burglary. And when you're under arrest, law enforcement is taking your fingerprints, they're taking photographs, and they're running your data through a computer system.
As detectives suspect, the database reveals that this was not Donald Davis's first brush with the law.
You've been arrested before, I believe, in Texas or Arizona for narcotics violations, and there was a weapon involved.
Hey, I've got a match on those fingerprints, but they're not Donald Davis.
Then who?
So we've got Donald Davis, also known as Jimmy, also known as Mark Stewart, but known in the system as Sheldon Reynolds.
He was in the system already under that name, perhaps. And I know there was a social security number that was associated with that name as well.
It's a shattering development. The man who terrorized and possibly murdered Debbie Brown was the very man whom she'd once lived with and loved. But inside an interrogation room, Sheldon Reynolds, aka Donald Davis, remains steadfast of his innocence.
He made an oral statement saying, I wasn't anywhere near there. I don't know anything about this. Then when he gave a written statement, a more detailed statement, is when he said that he spends the weekend with his daughter and he was returning his daughter to her mother's house, which was in New York, again, not in the Bridgeport area at the time of the murder.
While Sheldon remains in custody on the burglary charge, investigators work diligently to pinpoint his exact location on the night of the murders.
They were looking at possibly doing cell tower dumps to determine whether Sheldon's cell phone was hitting off in the area at the time of the homicide, as well as following other leads.
Law enforcement then initiates a search warrant of his cell phone records for the purpose of hour pings, data, and cell phone records.
What it was just historical information, not real-time tracking, but historical information showing where his cell phone was at certain times on the day of the murder. And they can do that by seeing what cell tower, I say pinging, what cell tower it was communicating with.
They pinged where he was that night in Bridgeport at 6:33 p.m., which is only 45 minutes before the murders.
The defendant putting himself in New York that night at the time of the murder was very valuable because evidence that was later developed from his cell phone showed that his cell phone was in the Bridgeport area both before and after the murder. So that was a way to show that his alibi was untruthful.
Detectives subsequently solidify their case through interviews with Sheldon's own family.
He had a sister that lived in the area by Debbie Brown's relatives or friends. She told me that on the night that Debbie Brown and Mr. McFarland were killed, that her uncle was actually outside her porch that night in Bridgeport, Connecticut, not in New York as he said he was, just after the crime.
She heard him outside her door that night, calling her by a name that only very close family members or associates from Jamaica would use when she didn't open the door, but she recognized the voice.
With hard evidence bolstering their case, authorities formally charged Sheldon Reynolds with 2 counts of murder.
I just felt happy when they caught him.
My mother first got the news and she came to me smiling, happy. She said they caught the man that murdered Debbie.
But when the trial finally gets underway, will this cunning suspect manage to slip through the arms of justice one last time?
When I heard that he's denying that he did it, that was crazy. It was just crazy how manipulative he was still trying to be.
After a whirlwind investigation into the deaths of Debbie Brown and Desmond McFarland, Bridgeport police believe they have their man. But who their man really is remains inconclusive.
Although he was prosecuted under the name Sheldon Reynolds, nobody knew him by that name.
To this day, I don't know if his name was Donald Davis or Sheldon Reynolds. He used aliases everywhere he went.
He would change his appearance to adapt a different persona. And it was crazy because I realized that, okay, this really is a madman.
The man authorities now call Sheldon Reynolds spends 2 years in a Bridgeport jail as state's attorneys compile their case against him.
In March of 2011, at the Fairfield County Superior Court, trial began for Sheldon Reynolds.
In their opening statements, prosecutors described for the jury a man driven to murder by jealousy.
He couldn't let it go that she broke off a relationship with him.
He began a campaign of stalking her, calling her, threatening her friends, threatening her family, going to her employers, trespassing on private property in order to see her, begging her to come back, and she refused.
Then, Desmond McFarland came into the picture. When Sheldon saw that Debbie's daughter Regine was becoming close to Desmond, Sheldon was pushed over the edge.
He explained on one of his ranting calls who was at bringing Debbie's daughter food.
In Sheldon's mind, Desmond's paternal attitude towards Regine meant that Debbie was surely slipping from his grasp.
As far as we know, they were friends and that was it. We produced evidence at trial that indicates the defendant, however, thought they were having some sort of an affair. And that was his motivation, or at least part of his motivation, for the murders.
Prosecutors say that this irrational, misguided belief culminated in a senseless tragedy on the night of December 7th, 2008.
He staked out the house. And when she arrived, the person did not hesitate to go to the car. He didn't wait for her to even get out of the car. He went straight to the car. As the door is opening and she's taking out the groceries, he then lets out fire into the window that kills Mr. McFarland. Comes around, shoots Debbie.
Desmond seems to be a victim of circumstance, a man in the wrong place at the wrong time, with the wrong person, with a homicidal ex-boyfriend looking to get even with Debbie Brown.
But the defense counters that speculations about jealousy cannot make a case for murder when there's insufficient direct evidence.
From a defense perspective, there's no smoking gun. No one actually sees Sheldon Reynolds kill anyone. No one can actually and definitively place Sheldon Reynolds on Ash Street on December 7th, year 2008. You've got a bunch of phone calls, but you can't put him at the scene, not definitively.
The defense was really just hoping that we would not be able to prove identity, the identity of the killer. So they were really just challenging our evidence on identity in any way they could. A lot of jurors expect DNA evidence. They expect some kind of conclusive scientific proof, and we didn't have that here.
As for what circumstantial evidence does exist, defense attorneys do their best to quash it.
The defense did everything they could to suppress evidence. They did not want the state to put up some of those witnesses in reference to outside statements and previous acts.
Arguing that Sheldon's past behavior towards Debbie should carry no weight in determining his guilt, the defense argues that her 911 call should be inadmissible.
It was the defense's position that the 911 calls of Debbie Brown were inadmissible hearsay. What does that mean? An out-of-court statement that is not subject to cross-examination. It's an out-of-court statement that should be deemed unreliable.
But the state refutes this notion, indicating that 911 calls are a reliable source in establishing Sheldon's intent to harm Debbie.
I'm calling to make a complaint. Okay. All right, what's the problem, ma'am? Yes, it's my ex who's been stalking me since yesterday.
Your what?
My ex, Donald Davis.
He's been stalking you?
The judge heard the arguments of the defense and decided, you know what? Sounds good, but I believe that these 911 calls are indeed admissible. These 911 calls, she didn't make them up. She wasn't thinking about some future event. She was thinking about something that was presently happening to her.
The centerpiece of the prosecution's strategy bolsters the challenged evidence of the 911 calls.
The most damning evidence in this case against Sheldon Reynolds were the people in Debbie Brown's life. They all came out. They all spoke out. They all said, this man is dangerous. This man has been stalking her.
Several witnesses, they were fearful of the defendant.
In addition to the 911 calls, prosecutors have one more piece of circumstantial evidence in their possession, and it might just be the most damning of them all.
A block and a half from Debbie Street, there was a factory. And that factory had a security camera that was recording on the night of the murder.
What you see on that video is the car. It's very grainy. You see the dome light come on, you see the figure cross the street to the side of the car, and then back again. And when the car pulls away, it doesn't have its headlights on.
The individual in it stayed in, lying, if you will, in wait.
Prosecutors say the individual can be only one man, Sheldon Reynolds.
After hearing the state's case, on April 8th, 2011, the jury retires to deliberate Sheldon's fate. After several hours of deliberation, they returned with their verdict.
All of those pieces were able to convince a jury Sheldon Reynolds, with his campaign of terror, took a .40 caliber semi-automatic weapon and pumped more than 6 shots into Desmond McFarland and over 5 shots into his ex-girlfriend, the woman that he had stalked.
At the sentencing hearing nearly 2 months later, the judge gives Sheldon Reynolds the maximum penalty Connecticut law will allow.
Judge Kavanewski sentenced him to 125 years, 60 consecutive on each count of murder, and then 5 years on the pistol without a permit.
When I heard the verdict was guilty and at sentencing phase that this man had received 125 years sentence, I really felt that justice had been done.
When I heard that Madman got 125 years, I was really happy at that point. That was a huge day for my family.
But to this day, the burden of one man's actions still weighs heavily on Debbie and Desmond's friends and family, especially since their tragic demise was the senseless product of deadly obsession.
She didn't deserve to die like this. She didn't deserve to die so fast. She didn't deserve for him to just abruptly take her life and feel like it was okay.
I feel that grief I got always be there. I don't think that them catching him, I got help relieve that grief.
As for Regine, she's now a mother herself in Jamaica, but she'll never forget the woman that raised her.
I love my daughter so much. I just try to make her feel loved the way my mom would make me feel loved. My mom would just constantly tell me that she loves me. I do the same with my daughter.